Picture this. You wake up, open Twitter, and your entire timeline is flooded with one name. Not a president, not a Hollywood A-lister. A name you've known for years. A name that disappeared for nearly 2 years. A name that just came back in a way nobody saw coming. Jimin. ParkJimin. And on the night of March 25th, 2026, the entire ARMY world stopped breathing at the same time. We need to talk about what happened on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Because this wasn't just another TV appearance. This wasn't just album promo. This was a moment that ARMY will be talking about for the next decade. And in the middle of all that grandeur, one person kept drawing every eye in the room. Not because he talked the most, not because he was the loudest, but because of the way he existed in that space. The way he stood, the way he sang, the way he smiled. And that person was Jimin. But before we get to Jimin, we need to understand just how much weight this night was carrying. The last time BTS performed together on The Tonight Show was July 2021. For years. 4 long, turbulent, unpredictable years. During that gap, each member completed mandatory military service in South Korea. They were separated. They couldn't perform together. And ARMY, with all of its patience and devotion, waited without knowing exactly when this moment would come. Then March 20th, 2026 arrived. ARIRANG dropped. And the K-pop world shook. Not just because it was BTS's first album in nearly 4 years, but because this album isn't just a collection of songs. ARIRANG is a statement, a manifesto, a love letter written by 7 people to the world, to ARMY, to themselves. And at the heart of that album is one song that's been on everyone's lips since day one. Swim. Swim is not an ordinary single. It's the lead track off ARIRANG, sung entirely in English, shot aboard a ship cutting through shimmering open water, directed by Tanu Mwino, the same director behind Grammy-nominated visuals for Lil Nas X and Harry Styles. And Jimin is right there in it, standing on that ship in a way that makes it physically impossible to look anywhere else. But let's go back to March 25th, because this is where everything peaks. On the morning of taping, before anyone even got near 30 Rock, BTS did something that still doesn't feel real. They went to the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. Not to browse art, not for a photo op. They went there to perform. Inside one of the most iconic buildings in America, that iconic spiraling rotunda, BTS performed 2 songs from ARIRANG, Swim and 2.0. Around 150 fans were invited. No phones allowed, no live stream, no leaked footage. Just 150 people who became witnesses to history that morning, standing inside a museum that usually holds masterpieces worth billions of dollars. Except that day, the masterpiece was BTS itself. Imagine Jimin standing inside the Guggenheim. Imagine his voice filling that space. A space that has housed some of the most important works of art in human history, now filled with something that can't be priced or cataloged. Sound. Movement. The presence of a ParkJimin who came back from everything that happened and came back stronger than before. The 150 fans who were there couldn't pull out their phones. But they didn't need to, because some things don't need to be recorded to be remembered forever. They just stood there and witnessed it. And the way those fans talked about it afterward told you everything you needed to know about what went down in that building. After the Guggenheim, BTS made their way to 30 Rockefeller Center, Studio 6B, and taping began. Here's the thing about how BTS entered. They didn't walk out from behind the blue curtain like a typical guest. They entered from behind the audience. They walked through the crowd, touching hands, brushing past fans who had been waiting for hours, all the way to the stage. Think about what that means. You're sitting there as an audience member, and suddenly BTS is walking right next to you. Jimin is walking past your seat, and he reaches out and touches your hand. Jimmy Fallon couldn't hide his excitement even before the cameras rolled. In the teaser NBC dropped ahead of the episode, Fallon's face said everything. And when all 7 members finally settled into that iconic red couch, the studio absolutely erupted. The interview moved the way interviews only do when everyone in the room is genuinely happy to be there. Fallon asked the questions fans have been storing up for 4 years, and BTS answered with the honesty, humor, and energy we've been missing. There was the moment Fallon brought up RM's new driver's license. And before anyone else could say a word, V's voice cut through, quiet but unmistakable. Scary. One word. The whole studio lost it. But more interesting than that was Jimin. Watch how Jimin sits in that interview. Watch how he laughs. There's something different about the Jimin we're seeing now versus the Jimin from 4 years ago. Something more settled, more grounded, like a man who went through something real and came out the other side knowing exactly who he is. But when he smiles, the energy is exactly the same. Still fully, completely Jimin. Jin brought back his iconic two butts theory that went viral from a previous Tonight Show appearance, and Fallon remembered it immediately. Jin laid out his philosophical position on human anatomy with the kind of confidence that only Jin can pull off, and the whole room dissolved. And Jimin, sitting right there, laughed with the kind of openness that you just can't fake. It's the laugh of someone who is genuinely, fully present in a moment. J-Hope was asked what his mission would be if he were the 8th BTS member. With that signature smile of his, he said, "Practice." Every member cracked up at once, including Jimin. But there was a split second right after that laugh faded. Jimin looked toward the camera, and there was something in his eyes that no words can fully capture. A deep gratitude. Something that said, "I can't believe we're actually here." Then Fallon did something small that went massively viral even before the episode aired. During his monologue, he joked about how his name kind of sounds like Jimin's. Jimmy Fallon, Jimin. And he sang a tiny little song about it. Nothing elaborate. But it was enough to make the entire studio, including BTS, completely fall apart. And Jimin's reaction to hearing that reaction became one of the most replayed clips of the whole night. But all of that was just the warm-up, because then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The performance of Swim. If you already love Swim as a recorded track, watching it performed live on The Tonight Show was a completely different experience. Because it's not just about the song in isolation. It's about everything that song is carrying. For years of absence, mandatory service, personal growth, a comeback that the whole world was watching. All of that compressed into one performance, live on NBC, on one of the most watched late-night stages in America. And Jimin was front and center for every second of it. His vocals, his movement, his presence. All of it confirms something that ARMY has known for a long time but doesn't always get to show the wider world. Jimin is a world-class performer. Not just by K-pop standards. By any standard, in any genre, on any stage, anywhere on the planet. The way he inhabits every musical phrase. The way his movement is precise but never mechanical. The way he commands a room even through a television screen. All of it speaks to someone who doesn't just train hard, but someone who was genuinely built for this. To understand why Jimin hits different in this comeback, you have to go back further. Back to March 2023, when Jimin released Face, his first solo album as a BTS member. That album wasn't just a commercial milestone, though it absolutely was one. Face became the first solo album by a Korean artist to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. Let that sink in. #1. Not in the K-pop chart, not in a regional category. The main Billboard 200. Against everyone, against every genre, against every budget and every promotional machine in the American music industry. But what made Face resonate beyond the numbers was what it said about Jimin as an artist. Every track on that album was Jimin stripping away the armor, talking about anxiety, about the pressure of being who he is, about the fear of losing himself in the noise. And he put all of that into music and gave it to the world without blinking. That kind of artistic courage is rare at any level. From a K-pop idol operating under the weight of global scrutiny, it was extraordinary. And then he went into military service. And ARMY waited again. What came out of that service is the Jimin you see now. The one on that red couch at the Tonight Show, laughing without holding anything back. The one inside the Guggenheim, filling a museum with his voice. The one who goes on Weverse after a cold outdoor show to apologize for the weather. Military service changes people. It changes how they see time, how they see sacrifice, how they see what actually matters. For Jimin, it seems to have done something specific. It made him even more certain of who he is and even more deliberate about how he shows up for the people he loves. That context is everything when you watch his Swim performance on Fallon. Because you're not just watching a great performer deliver a great vocal. You're watching someone who went to the edge of everything, came back, and chose to stand on that stage with full intention. Nothing held back. Nothing performed for the sake of appearances. Just Jimin, doing what Jimin does, in the most honest version of himself that's ever existed. And this wasn't the first time in the same week that Jimin had done exactly this. A couple of nights earlier, on March 23rd, BTS performed at Spotify x BTS Swimside, an exclusive event on the rooftop of Pier 17 in Manhattan. 5 floors above the seaport, with the Brooklyn Bridge on one side and the Statue of Liberty on the other. The temperature that night dropped below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. There was drizzle. There was wind. But the 1,000 fans who were invited, Spotify's top BTS streamers, didn't go anywhere. They stood on that rooftop, cold and damp and completely unmoved from their spots. Because BTS was there. Because Jimin was there. And the next day, March 24th, Jimin logged into Weverse. No big announcement. No hype. Just a message written by someone whose hands were probably still a little cold. He said it seemed like he was really feeling the chill from that night, and that it kept coming back to him. He said the fans must have been cold too. He apologized. He said thank you for coming and waiting anyway. Read that again. Jimin apologized. For the weather. Not that the weather was his fault. Not that anyone's fault. But Jimin felt the need to say sorry, because for him, the comfort of every single ARMY is something he carries personally. That's what makes Jimin different. Not just the vocals, not just the dancing, but the way he understands his relationship with the people who show up for him. To Jimin, ARMY isn't an audience. They're people who stood in the wind and rain to see him. And that's not something he takes lightly. Ever. This isn't a PR move. This isn't something big hit scripted. This is the same Jimin who stood on the stage at Gwanghwamun Square on March 21st, in front of 260,000 people, at the biggest BTS comeback event in history, and asked the crowd if they were cold, if they were okay, while the rest of the world was just trying to absorb the fact that BTS was back on that stage together. Jimin's first instinct was to check on the people in front of him. That's who he is. And that's why ARMY can't stop talking about him. Back to the Tonight Show for one more moment. Because there's something that sounds small but isn't. Fallon asked all 7 members to give ARMY one word. Just one. And they all gave the same answer. Love. Every single one of them. 7 different voices, 7 different tones. 7 different ways of landing on the same word. Love. And when Jimin said it, ARMY around the world felt like it was spoken directly to them. Because with Jimin, it always feels that way. Every word he says sounds less like a broadcast and more like a one-on-one conversation. Less like a statement for the masses and more like something meant only for you. That's why, in the middle of the most historic BTS night in years, with 7 of the most talented performers on the planet all on the same stage at the same time, ARMY keeps coming back to one name. Jimin. Not because the others aren't extraordinary, they are. But because there's something about Jimin that resonates on a frequency that's almost impossibly personal. Something that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it, but completely undeniable to anyone who has. And none of this is manufactured hype. This is the result of years of showing up. Years of sacrifice. Years of choosing to be fully present even when everything felt heavy. This is a Jimin who went into mandatory service, came out the other side, stood inside the Guggenheim on a quiet March morning, and made 150 people forget how to breathe. This is a Jimin who performed Swim on The Tonight Show and had millions of people hitting replay at 2 in the morning. With ARIRANG already in the hands of the world, with The Tonight Show proving that BTS didn't just come back, they came back as the best versions of themselves. One thing is clear. Jimin didn't show up to ride the wave of his comeback. He showed up to define it. And as BTS heads into the ARIRANG World Tour starting in April, 79 shows across 34 territories, Jimin will stand on those stages exactly the way he stood in the Guggenheim that morning. Exactly the way he stood at Pier 17 in the rain. Exactly the way he sat on that red couch and gave ARMY one word. Love. So the next time someone asks you why Jimin is dominating every conversation in the fandom right now, at the most historic BTS comeback in years, the answer is simple. Because Jimin never does anything halfway. In an industry built on calculation and strategy, Jimin is an anomaly. He's someone who is genuinely present, genuinely feels everything, and genuinely cares. And when you watch someone like that perform, no matter how many extraordinary people are standing next to him, your eyes keep going back to him. Every single time. That's not coincidence. That's not fan-made hype. That's what happens when someone spends years choosing the stage, choosing ARMY, and choosing to give everything, every single night. That's Jimin. That's always been Jimin. And right now, in the middle of the most exciting chapter BTS has ever written, that Jimin is fully, completely back. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because we are covering every single thing happening in the ARIRANG era, the world tour, the chart runs, the moments. Turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.